Hello my fellow teachers. Today we're going to look at Google Meet, which is a really good application online to help you live teach your students, whether that's primary, secondary or in higher education. On this channel we're all about trying to help you help the outcomes of your students and therefore their life chances. So let's get onto the computer and have a look through Google Meet. How do we set one up and how do we use the application with our students? So the first option we've got to get a new Google Meet is when we're on the Google homepage, we've got the little square section up here. We can then go down to Meet here, click on that, and that brings us to the main Google Meet page. We can then click on New Meeting, and we've got three different options that might be useful in different situations to work with students. First, you can create a meeting for later on. Possibly want to schedule a meeting, maybe a mentor meeting, maybe it's about their UCAS or other things. We might want to do that at a later date or a later time. We can schedule an instant meeting with them, and we can schedule it on Google Calendar, which is probably quite useful if your school uses a G Suite anyway, because then you can schedule that meeting maybe to mentor students or to go through other learning that maybe they struggled with, or maybe you need to do some catch up with students or maybe a group of students. The second option we've got is possibly you want to come onto the calendar and set up a meeting, particularly for a key group of students that we're working with, maybe some PP students or maybe some S&D students that we need to work with live at a different date. Currently I'm on my home account because obviously for GDPR I don't want to share any of the details. So I would click on my calendar. Let's say I want a meeting for tomorrow. I would obviously put a date and time in. I can add this in here. I'd give it a sensible name. So maybe call it support meeting, whatever I need to call it. I can then add guests in here, particularly if I've got G Suite and I've got key students, I could set up groups and I could put that into there. And all I do then is add a Google Meet video conferencing. I can join the meeting straight away, or alternatively, I can use this link here, or there's also this little 3 button, which will copy the meeting link so I can go into the right place and I can save that. And that will also send those students an email to let them know that there's a meeting occurring and maybe you put a brief description about what that meeting's about. The third and probably the most obvious way to share the link with students is actually if you use Google Classroom as part of the G Suite or the Google Suite that's provided for education, is actually have it on the class. So I've got a blank class here, and all I would do is on the class by default, it's not actually set up. So I just click on generate a Gmeet link. I can generate that by clicking here. And then I will need to make that visible to students. By default, that's switched on, but possibly if you want to turn it off, you can, and do that and press save. This then allows you and the students to click on this link in order to access that lesson. The other thing you can do is if you decide that you want to disable that link for whatever reason, is in the settings here. If you scroll down, you can also make this invisible to students if you want it off for certain periods of time. So just to let you know, for safeguarding purposes, Google have disabled this for students to get into the meeting until you as a teacher or other teachers, maybe if you team teach or maybe a TA have joined the meeting. Until that point, they are not allowed to join the meeting until you are there. So now we've just got to a holding area. The students still can't join the lesson until you press join now, because that's a security and safeguarding feature that's added into Google Classroom and Google Meet. What we can do is we can turn our mic off or on. Again, you will see little blue bars show the mic's working properly. We can turn our camera off or on, but more than likely being a teacher, primary or secondary, or even in HE, we're going to want to make sure that our camera is on and our mic is on so we can talk to the students. One thing you might be interested in is if you've got a messy background or you don't like the background you're in, you can change it and put blurred options in. You're in a sunny climate and you're allowed out the house. We're currently lockdown 3 here in the UK, and you can pretend you're in a slightly better climate. So we're going to join the call to let students join in. Once we're in here, students will be able to join in. They've obviously got the option that you can share this link with people. You can give them the code or you can share the link here. And you can also click on there and type in to add in people if you want to. So now we're in the lesson, the only person here currently. We can obviously turn the mic off or on. Maybe we need to talk to somebody in the background. Maybe we need to make a call possibly. Maybe we need to chase students up who aren't in the meeting. We can turn the camera on and off again. Maybe we need to have a child who's at home and maybe we need to kind of sort out them for their home learning. We can actually go to the top here, which is really good. We can see who's in the lesson. And we can also pin people. So if you want to see specific students quite regular, keep them at the top of the list, but if they've got their cameras on, you can pin them here. And again, you can see that I'm talking currently. We've got the chat where students can chat and you can as well. The only thing I would say about the chat is if the student joins the lesson after you've put in the chat, they can't see that. They can only see what's been put in the chat since they joined the lesson, which can be a little bit of a problem from time to time. If students make bad choices about what they're putting in the chat, then by all means you can turn the chat off here and re-enable it as and when you need to maybe ask questions. Another good feature for that in terms of behaviour management is just making sure you've got the record meeting option on. And then as long as you've asked their permission, and again, probably your school has probably wrote a letter out. If not, that's what I would recommend to do. You can start and record the meeting, and then it means that if you need to come back to things, you've got that recording on there. Another feature we've got in Google Meet is we can have breakout rooms, polls, and Q&As, but we're going to cover those in another lesson, and you'll be able to find them on my channel. Other features we might want to have is we can put on captions. So while I'm talking, it will try and translate that, but it's not always the best. Maybe you've got a student who's got English as an additional language, but it might not translate it perfectly, but that's something that you can do. Other things, the other really powerful thing we can do, especially when we're teaching from home, is to present now. And we can normally present a tab. The reason for presenting a tab rather than the whole window is it'll have less impact on your machine, but also less impact on those machines at home for the students, particularly if you've got a slower internet connection. A couple of things that I like having open is obviously the slides themselves. So we can share the slides, and that will come up and we can then present our slides, whatever we want them to learn. The other thing that's really useful for students is to have the learning packet open. This is basically a page where it's got the space to put the answers in. So as an example here, like a little learning journal, and that just allows you to show students exactly where you want to put their learning and what they've learned from what you've taught them. The other thing I like having open is the actual learning packet or the pages they're going to write on. The reason for this is then I can go back on Classroom and find out who is and who isn't working, and as required, maybe email them and challenge them if they're not getting all their work done. It is really, really good being able to share slides, but still remember that we need to check in with students. Are they understanding what we've said? And making sure we're regularly asking questions to make sure it becomes less of a lecture, particularly for some of our younger students who might start to drift a little bit if we talk for too long. There's also an option here where you can switch tabs if you want to share a different tab than the one you've currently got open. Another really good feature of Gmeet is if we share our tab, we can share a video with them as well. So we can obviously maximize that.
Angry Birds and so on and so on. But
so once we've maximized the window, we can play it and the students can see that at the same time as we can in the classroom or at home.
Now,
for more videos on using Google Meet, please click here in the top left-hand corner where there's a video on how to engage your students with the tools it has. And in the bottom right will be a video that YouTube's picked for you. Please remember to subscribe to this channel in order to get more information to help you and help your students in the classroom. See you in the next one.